Yo, are we live? Are we like, y'all see me? I can't see me.
Can't see you either. Oh, I did for a second.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we may have to have Lo-Fi come back again. I don't know what's going on, Lo-Fi, but if you can hear me, this is Purple Haze, trying to do my best imitation of Lo-Fi Monk in Project Storm by not showing my face. And with me, I have Project Storm, um, the
Hey,
one,
you
the
know what?
only.
This reminds me of the good old days on SSC, man, with MM. We had the technical difficulties. As soon as you're ready to have some fun and come out here with all the energy in the world and all that stuff, something has to happen. So this is letting you know it's a sign of a good show. That's one thing I could say.
I mean, Lo-Fi leaves us in charge for like a second. There we go. There we go. I don't
There
know
it
what's
is. I tried to take the
going
blame for it. Shout out to Jeff, man. Jeff G coming in here already saying that he wants to he's gonna send his crew over here and all that, man. Hey, let me let the people know right now though, Purple, before we get into anything. I'm not. This is me trying to fill in for my bro while he's out there doing this thing or whatever, attending to some matters and all that stuff, man. I'm just filling in for a minute, but I would let him do the same thing on my channel. So shout out to Lo-Fi who popped by in the chat to show some love or whatever. I think he feels good with us having the keys to the Ferrari or whatever, right? I
on.
think
Oh,
he does.
we're gonna drive it like we stole it.
Well, I did see the tweet. I didn't, and you know what? I didn't even put that together. I just thought of the Ferrari. I always use Ferrari for some reason, but anyway.
No, we're good. We're good. No, thank you all for being here. Project Storm is the ultimate gamer. It's proved it many times. I called him the best cloud gamer, game for game. MM2K got on me, said, he's the ultimate gamer. So I'm just gonna say he's the ultimate gamer. And we're gonna ask him some questions, but we're gonna be talking about like cloud, the future, from both a tech side as well as a business side, if y'all are interested in that. But to get the stuff going, because I don't know if y'all know this or not about Project Storm, but he is consistently in the Madden top 100. And so even though Madden is not in the cloud right now for 2023, there were some changes to it this year that were just announced. So Project Storm, I want to know if you have seen those changes and what are your thoughts?
All right. Well, every year I normally what I do is I tune in, and there's some big, reliable content creators out there like Eric Rayweather. Anybody that plays Madden, all the guys out there that's constantly educating us on what's going on with the game each and every year. Purple. Um, so if you haven't checked out his content, like if you're looking to get better at Madden, like if you're like MM2K and you just want to play franchise, that's cool, right? But if you want to get better and go head to head and climb the leaderboard like me and man, so many people, and I don't want to forget. Oh my gosh, man. It was just like a bunch of us that was just in the leaderboard, right? Trying to go for the number one spot. And so I think on Stadia, I could say, because 22, I played on Stadia, and I think I reached up to top 10. But I wasn't the only one, of course. And I know people are going to be like, well, Stadia doesn't have the hundreds of thousands and millions of players. And that's true. But at the same time, there were thousands of players playing the game on Stadia. So I just wanted to put that out there because it was cool. For the first time, I was able to stream Madden, PurpleHaze. So it's good that you kicked it off with this because I'm going to be in the top 100 this year as well. So there's a lot of science that goes into it, a lot of practice. Like you have to go in, you got to put the hours in. You gotta hit the practice field like any other game. Like if it's a shooter, you go out there, you hit some targets or whatever, you get used to the recoil and the weapons and all that purple. And you all, but with Madden is a different science. Like you really have to eat breakfast and lunch and dinner while playing Madden. And I'll tell you my secret, right? I spend 10 hours the first week the game drops. The first 10 hours, like EA gives a 10-hour trial, right?
Right.
So I used to take the whole 10 hours, and 6 of those hours I went into practice mode, like and just practice, built my playbook, custom playbook or whatever. I know some people are like, man, I just go stock playbook. Well, maybe that's why you're not reaching the top 100 like me, you know. But I'm just saying, purple. Nah, but for real, to keep it real though, I made my custom playbook, so I don't have to worry about that. I put the plays I like into the book, And I go out there. If you're trying to be competitive, you can't come out there with like a specific stock playbook. So I mean, it's just things like that, man. It's so fun, Purple, because you get to play against the best in the world. You're gonna run into the number one player, the number two player, all the way up to the 99 player. You're gonna run into them all the time once you're in the top 100. So it's like I told you, that competition thing drives me. That's who I am as a gamer, you know. So I just wanted to keep it short and say all that right there. For all you Madden heads out there, 2023 is looking to be great. Shout out to Rome Rush, who hosted the Yin Meets Yang of Gaming podcast with me and Snow Bunny. Like, he's a big Madden player every year, and he's already excited about the fact that he thinks that Madden looks really good this year. I have just been taking it with a grain of salt because Madden, the last gen version was much better than the next gen version on Series X and PS5, in my opinion, because it was broken. The game was so broken on Series X that I couldn't even play the game. I uninstalled it. At one point I had no players on the field. And Jeff knows what I'm talking about. Jeff G's in the house, man. He knows because I ran it by him. I dropped a couple screenshots to let people know that I wasn't making it up or whatever. Like, there was no players, only a football on the field. And the game, it was just broken. So I got away from it. And the defense played horribly. So, but that's enough Madden talk for right now. You know, top 100 every year is what I do. Purple is a grind. You really got to put hours into it. So if anybody's trying to do it this year, you got to start early, get your grind on.
Thank you for dropping the knowledge. And Jeff just asked a quick question. Do you know Ryan Moody's channel?
Ryan Moody as well. You know, sometimes he doesn't sound so optimistic about it, but he keeps it real about his thoughts on Madden. And I do go to Ryan Moody and Coach 404. Man, there's so many guys out there that I watch because you want to know what plays are broken. You want to know what you could do to counter certain plays. And sometimes going to those guys for their thoughts on everything is what you need to add that to your arsenal. So I'm always trying to encourage people to go out there. Like, take my plays. I put them on YouTube for a reason. I stream my games. Take what I do, put it in your own way, because if you do it against me, I'm going to know what you're doing, right? So don't, you want to take craft it into, shape it into whatever you think is best for you, and then take it out there and be advantageous. That's it.
Amazing. Well, this is a gaming podcast, and we specifically talk about cloud gaming. So, I'll start it off. This week, I am still grinding in Outriders, y'all. The game, it's a grind. But as you level up, the game just gets amazing with how many different power-ups you can do, the damage you can do. And it's just what I've been playing. Shout out to Ambi, my battle buddy, always going out there, but also David Wilson, Geek the Sneak, Squids, Ron Slusher, and Kachil, gaming with all of them as well, and as well as some other people in the Stadia community who actually are part of that majority who are not on YouTube. There are so many players, y'all. It's not just the community on YouTube. So really shout out to all of them as well. So that's what I've been playing, Project Storm. But what have you been playing? And this is Cloudy Thoughts, right? This is not just Stadia, but that's just what have you been playing?
PurpleHaze is about to make me, courtesy of her and Lo-Fi, about to make me get back into this podcasting thing, y'all. Sooner versus later, I'm telling you. What have I been playing? A question I'm very familiar with. The chat is very familiar with that. We used to ask that all the time. I think you can't do a podcast without asking, what have you been playing? So for me, a little bit of Doom Eternal. Dropped a video where I was using mouse and keyboard, Purple. Now, you may not have known this, but I'm not the best keyboard and mouse user. I used to be. I was playing the original Call of Duty, black and white. So many different classic System Shock 1 and 2, and all these different games on PC, right? And I was, of course, using the keyboard and mouse, but console gaming came and I jumped into Xbox, PlayStation, all that stuff, and I fell off. But been playing some Doom Eternal, been playing some PUBG. I got a chicken dinner today, and I know how you feel about PUBG. I got a chicken dinner today on the new Destin map. First attempt chicken dinner, but this time it was a squad game because I didn't realize I didn't select solo, if I can even play solos on Destin. But I got a chicken dinner first attempt. Had like 5 or 6 kills or whatever. I might have a clip to put out there, and it was just so much fun. PurpleHaze, like, what can I? Why do you have a gripe with PUBG?
I don't don't have a gripe. It's just why would I probably not play it if I had free time? Is that the question? Because I don't have any gripes on it. It's just it's not. I don't prioritize it. That's all.
Oh,
But
you just don't put it up there. It's not too tough. It's not too difficult. Like no, like the
no,
difficult
I
learning
think
curve.
no, it's not. I mean, I play it. Like anytime we have a tournament, Cloudy V had a tournament. Shout out to Cloudy V. Shout out to Chat for One Geek, Suna, Sanchez, Jeff, Cloudy V. Shout out to all you and Lo-Fi. He's lurking as well. No, I think for me, when it comes to PUBG, I'm just more into the tactical shooter. Like I need to get in there and like go at it. So it's kind of the same thing with Centipede, right? Between the two different styles, like I kind of like that instantaneous action,
Yeah,
as where you're kind of like you're the marathoner. You can do it for a lot longer, and I think PUBG is the same way. Like you get in there, and if you're gonna go for a chicken dinner, the first 20 something minutes of it, you're just checking houses and running, checking houses again and
yeah,
running. And as far as like, but maybe you mentioned this game earlier this week, as opposed to like a Rainbow Six, and that time I can maybe get through what 3-4 rounds, in a match of Rainbow Six. Like I've had multiple gunfights, I've had multiple stuff, and so I'm just used to that like more like get in, go at it, get that adrenaline running pretty quickly like that way. But it's not that I have anything wrong or against PUBG per se. But why do you like PUBG? And why does chat like PUBG? Let me know.
I'm
Let us know in chat as well.
well, you know, it's the ultimate game. It's the ultimate battle royale experience. Because it was one of it's just like it's the most authentic. You know what I mean? It's the most close to simulation battle royale experience you're gonna get. Like it's not trying to be, well, some people might argue, but it's not Fortnite to me. It's not Battlefield Firestorm. It's not all any other items. Warzone. It's not that. It's PUBG, right? And so if you want to go back to the gritty, realistic type of game, then that's I call it the grown man's battle royale. You know what I mean? Like that's what I call it. That's the nickname I gave it because like most people get turned off because of the learning curve and all that stuff. Like shout out to Ray and SPG, Stadia Pro Gaming, and all of those guys that was playing. I was in the chat, and I wished I could have joined, but they were in there having a good time as always on the game. And you just put the hours in, and it never gets old. It just to me, it never gets old. Like some people might say, oh, they added bots. I don't care. I'll shoot the bots too. They're gonna give me free loot. They bring me free loot. I'm shooting every bot I see, and then I'll get to the real players for the chicken dinner. So that never deterred me from enjoying the game. Got thousands of hours into it. PurpleHaze is just crazy, right? Like
Nah,
across different platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Stadia. Another game that came to Stadia, y'all. Came to Stadia, and I freaked out because my boy Project Kill, he asked the day before it dropped, man, how come they don't have PUBG on Stadia? I'm like, yo, man, they'll get it. You got to give them time. The next day, they came out and announced PUBG was coming to Stadia. I lost my mind, y'all. Other people out there were like, oh, Project Storm is happy. You dang right I was, and I went out there the first day, got chicken dinners. I was helping people, trying to coach with the little, with my average skills, and I'm not elite on PUBG, but I gets my dinners. That's one thing I do.
no. Like I said, I think if there's a tournament, the community's going at it. I'm gonna hop into it. It's that simple. It's not like I avoid it. There's certain games like I just like that's a dumb game. Hitman. It's a
Got you.
dumb game to
No, I got
but,
you. I got you.
but I think that's the first game for the tournament coming up. They're doing a Stadia tournament coming up, so I gotta get with my Hitman specialist to see how I'm gonna tackle this one. But no, I think it's cool. It's cool. Like I'm all about the competition as well. Um, but speaking of which, you're a gamer. You're in the cloud. You see the future of gaming. I want to ask you what your opinions are from a performance side, from a tech side, just from a competitive side, about some things that happened this week and
You
across the
sh-
spectrum.
you sure you want to get into that with me? I'm just saying, like tech talk this early in the stream. Like, you sure you want to go there now, or
Okay,
do we want to
okay.
push this back a little bit?
We can push this.
Because Purple,
Okay, okay.
I got
Okay.
Suna in the building. You get what I'm saying? Like Suna's out here. We kind of like it's not full speculation because we do put one and one together on certain breadcrumbs that we find. So I'm gonna tell y'all, for everybody out there that respects the tech and all that, shout out to Ace and all of them, man, who respect the tech. But listen, I when it comes to this tech, I take it very seriously. I have about 15 new bookmarks that I have that I pieced together, and this is speculation zone. And I will do this more on my
Oh,
own
we do
channel. So
speculations here all day.
stay tuned. I'm gonna do it on my channel because I know some people don't do the speculation. But I tell you who does it. Me and Sooner Live. We do it responsibly too. You know what I mean? And um it's like responsibly and responsibly. But the thing is, Purple, there's so much going on in 2022 that people are missing when it comes to this tech. You got Nvidia, AMD about to drop their next GPUs. Like, graphics cards are getting cheaper and all that stuff, and this does apply to cloud gaming as well. Um, and so you just can't help but think. You got GeForce Now, the 3080 tier, and all the stuff, right? So you'll see where I'm going in a minute. But if you pay attention to some of the announcements that's already being made, including Boosteroid, shout out to Boosteroid Ron. What is his name? I want to make sure it's official. Hold up.
It's
Booster
supposed to
Ron is
Booster
in the
Rock.
building. Ask Booster Ron. He'll tell you. Like, Boosteroid is out here talking 4K 120 PurpleHaze. Do you understand what that does to a brother like me inside? Like, I think you do, but if you don't, I'm gonna tell y'all. That makes me smile like PurpleHaze. You know what I'm saying? Like, it does something to me, y'all, that just I feel like it's in my DNA. Like, this technology stuff is embedded in me. I always say I feel like I'm technology, like we are all technology, advanced technology that they model robots and cyborgs. Shout out to the gaming cyborgs in the building. They model them after us, like in certain ways. So it's deep. Like, that's just one example how deep I get with this technology. So you look at what Boosteroid is talking about: 4K 120 streaming in the cloud, PurpleHaze in 2022. You're about to get me hyped. 4K 120 FPS. I want y'all to listen to this as I say it slow. Close your eyes if you have to. 4K. Some people still don't have 4K displays, Purple. 120 FPS, 120 FPS is making the gameplay so fast, so much smoother, buttery, and all that, right? It's coming to a cloud service out of nowhere, it seems, before the big dogs, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, coming out of nowhere. So that's just, come on now. Should I keep going? Then you got a little birdie that told me that the AV1 codec, Purple, which helps, is already in being used in Google Chrome, is gonna be helping to make Stadia and other streaming services or whatever, like Netflix or whatever, even more efficient when it comes to the streaming or the bandwidth that's needed to play these games or stream these movies and all that stuff, songs or whatever, right? So of course this is going to freak me out, and it should freak everybody out a little bit. It should move the needle a little bit, even if you don't care about tech, because this is saying to me in 2022, stay with me, and then I'm almost done, I'm halfway through. Then you got Amazon out here. Shout out to Amazon Ron, who's in retirement right now. Yo, they got Amazon out here making moves. They're setting their channels up, Purple. And this is where we're going to get into the business side later. See, Lo-Fi, shout out to you, man. I tell you what, bro, I got your back. I told y'all there was some excitement in the air. See, I don't just tweet stuff out. Purple, you know what I'm saying? We don't just put stuff out there and not mean it. I told y'all it's going to be fun. Anybody that likes this tech stuff and this business stuff, tonight's your night, right? So you got Amazon out here making moves with the channels. People made fun of the channels and stuff, Purple, right? Yo, what are they doing with these channels? Ha ha, man, that's crazy. That's dumb. But Amazon is setting themselves up that, hey, if you don't like this, come on, when they get ready to make their upgrades and stuff and bring their games and all that, PurpleHaze, they have AWS tech related, largest in the world when it comes to, you know what I mean, like those services and stuff, right? Azure, Google, GCP, and all that, right? Um, it's just when you think about all these things in 2022 that's been announced, xCloud. Let's just go to xCloud real quick. Direct, what is it called? Like direct capture. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it's called to like improve latency and all that stuff. And I'm thinking it's direct capture, man. They're making moves, keyboard and mouse support for players who want to play their games using mouse and keyboard. PC gamers, hint, hint. Microsoft PCs, PC gamers, making it easier to go over to xCloud and try these games in the cloud. Are y'all serious right now? I mean, so Purple, and that's not even the end of it. Like the birdie that I was talking about earlier when it comes to the Chromecast with Google TV, I hear that there's one in the works that's going to take advantage of AV1, the AV1 codec, which is going to make games more easily streamable on Stadia and all that stuff. Hey, it's just crazy. And I'm just jumping all over the place. I'm not even hitting y'all with all the bombshells that I pieced together to say that this is going to end up being a powerful 2022 for these companies. GeForce Now already upgraded, like I said, to the 3080 tier. They're focusing on bringing more games to people and the technology there. They're implementing different things. So I'm telling y'all, put it together. Look at what Google just did with what Stadia just did in Mexico with the Mexico announcement and all of this other stuff. And then shout out to 95 Google. You can think what you want about them, but they put out there again. They just mentioned the AV1 codec that I talked about all the time. And I know people are like, Storm, if you don't shut the hell up with this AV1 codec, man, but if it's going to help people stream games at a higher level, that's going to introduce more players into cloud gaming, Purple. Now, this is the old Storm coming back, and it's just, I told you can't ask me about the tech and not expect me to go into it for an hour. You can't do it.
No, I love it. I love it. I think I'm excited about it all too. I think I have different opinions about where the different companies are, what they're trying to do, the markets they're trying to make, the markets they're trying to dominate, the products they're putting forth, what they're saying. So just for anybody out there, the next 2 weeks are super interesting for someone like me, right? Because a lot of the tech companies are going to start reporting over these next 2 weeks. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they're saying to shareholders, and so I think as far as Google, probably not too much, like a lot of people, I want to give everybody a little bit of insight into this, but companies like Amazon and Google they don't like to report out on it, because once they have to report out on it, shareholders are going to say, okay, what is this product doing? So they try to hide it and they put it in certain areas. And so you can't really see what they're doing. So you have to kind of rely on what their partners are doing. So with Google, we just saw what NVIDIA, right? Amazon has a lot of partners with a lot of the other streaming services. So you can kind of see what they're doing there. Microsoft, though, it's going to be really interesting there because they do break it out. And if you saw what Microsoft reported before, they said they were going to see a decline in their software sales this year, or in their game sales particularly. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays, because I get excited too about all these different things, but I'm also a little bit more of a realist. I look at how does inflation work on this? I when I saw Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer on stage a month ago, I saw desperation. Even though they just got this whole $70 billion deal through, I saw a lot of desperation in what they were pitching. So I'm going to be really interested to see, are they giving any kind of indication of what's going on? xCloud just reported last week, I think, like, hey, they're going to fix their latency. Well, Azure in general has to fix their latency. Azure has been overextended. So for that, I'm looking at that. I think GFN, they're kind of also, they're ahead, or not GFN, but NVIDIA is ahead. And so they're
Right.
going to try to continue to invest in GFN to stay ahead, because that's how, frankly, Nvidia, leapfrogged Intel. They focused on cloud computing or gaming computing. So I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in Intel. Intel has quietly made a lot of investments. It's been previously reported. You can go to look up Intel plus Boosteroid. It's no secret that those two have partnered up, but it's a light partnership. I want to make that very clear. Some people think it's like a full-on handshake. It's more or less Boosteroid approached them for a product to see how they were going to build out their servers. So I think I am excited. But I think I'm also kind of on the mindset of I'm a realist. I'm a little bit like a little bit more cautious in my approach. And just today, Xbox, what did they say? Was it today or maybe this week? They said that cloud gaming is not a replacement for consoles.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now we're getting mixed signals, right? We're getting mixed signals from them. Why are they telling us? When it's shiny over there, well, cloud gaming's the future. The cloud gaming's the way we're gonna go. Cloud gaming, this is where we're gonna lead into. And then strange enough, the same little fortnight, 2 weeks, that we find out all these problems about Azure around the world. So if y'all haven't known, Azure is having tons of problems. They're overextended. And it's not going to get fixed, people are saying, until the first quarter of 2023. So then when I add that onto the fact that there's been a hiring freeze in a lot of tech, when I add that onto the fact that there's been inflation, well, wait a second. Are they pulling back on this investment? Is this not what's going to happen? Is this actually, are they not being as transparent? So that's why I said I'm really excited to really dig into their financial report, really excited to get on their earnings call to see it.
When you get done, I want to wait for you to get done because I have a couple questions based on what you just said. We're going to get into the business side as well, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I told you.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Purple. You just said something about Xbox making that announcement. I thought about it because I did see that news, right? And I want to ask you in the chat, you know what I'm saying? I want to ask y'all, what do you think? What do you think they're really trying? What message are they really trying to send? I think it's because they still say, I'm hoping that they're like, okay, we still have another console generation or two to sell you consoles. So we don't want to go too cloud heavy because of course the buzz gets out there and they're like, okay, people catch on. And you have people who were against Stadia and against cloud gaming in general, right? Now they're thinking like, yo, I could play Starfield in the cloud. Oh, over Aunt Keisha's house or whatever the case is, right? So once you start, people get, you start generating that buzz and then you get people all excited, then you're right. Maybe they're thinking like, yo, inflation or whatever. They could be thinking our infrastructure may not be ready, especially at this 1080p. Sometimes there's pixelation and with our services, there's some issues we have to resolve. So yeah, that could be the reason as well. But I think Microsoft is just trying to be careful not to upset their fan base once again. You know what I mean? Because we know what happened with that Xbox Live Gold announcement when they tried to hike up the price or whatever, right? And people wasn't having that recently, a while back. So I don't know, Purple. I thought about that though. And then what was the second part? The second one you touched on, you brought up something else, and I definitely wanted to touch on that. What was it? No. The infrastructure part about, so if you're feeling like Microsoft might be thinking like, whoa, due to inflation, we might not be ready to do what we need to do. I'm wondering if, so that made me think about, you just made me think about Google with Stadia and that message that we're hearing that came out there, you know what I'm saying? About after the Mexico expansion about this. And I know like this came from the, what is it called when they go and dig in and find these different morsels of information that y'all know what I'm talking about, man. Like
when they dig into the APK, when they dig into the release.
Yeah, no, well, it was something that was said like something like there's too many players. They found a message or something that said there's too many players. So Purple, that just made me Project Storm think that if Microsoft might be feeling well how you think, then could Google be facing the same type of issue if that's the case? If that's the case, now is what
So here I'm gonna give you a little bit of what I like to call educated speculation right now,
that's what I'm
right?
talking about.
Like so, Google and Microsoft approach this game a lot differently, right? They approach expansion differently. And soon, I'm glad Soon is still out there, and if Cloud EV is still out there, I'm going to give you a little hint on my logic on expansion with Stadia or with so forth. And this is going to get to what you're talking about, Project Storm, in that message. And I'm going to give you all what I believe is an educated speculation about what that message actually is saying. So everybody's talking about Stadia going to Brazil next, right? I even made a bet with Simpleton on this channel last week about Stadia going to Brazil. And I think Chat Stadia also jumped onto that, and so did John Scars. Now,
that's some powerful people.
That's some powerful people, but my thing has always been infrastructure. Now, if this was Microsoft, I say, yeah, maybe they would do that because they expand differently. Microsoft expands with their enterprise business top of mind. Google expands with their product offering business in mind. So when we think about cloud expansion from a Google side of things, look where Stadia is right now. You notice it's clustered. There's every country Stadia is currently in is connected to another country Stadia is currently in. It expands like that, kind of like the block, or the board, right? They got to touch each other. So that's why Brazil, in my opinion, do y'all know where Brasilia is? Sao Paulo? Or Rio de Janeiro is in Brazil?
Yeah, I get you.
If anybody who's ever flown to Brazil will tell you it takes a hell of a lot longer to get down to that part of Brazil than one would think because it's in the south.
I mean, I flew over it, Christ the Redeemer and all that on Microsoft Flight Simulator. I did that.
It takes a long. You got to go through a ton of. You got to go through a whole bunch of stuff. So until I see something like Colombia getting, cloud services, then I don't know how Brazil gets cloud services. Then on top of that, Mexico just got them. And they're next to the United States. Why did Mexico go get them? Well, if you go back and look at what Google Data Center just opened up about 2 to 3 weeks ago, it was Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
So now you're starting to see okay, wait a second, there has to be more infrastructure. This is the same thing with India, right? India is the same thing. Everybody said, well, they're going to go to India. It makes total perfect sense. How are they going to get to India? As someone who lived over there, who's deployed, right? I went to Afghanistan.
Through the ocean cables and all that. Of course.
Okay, through the ocean cable.
Of course.
But the infrastructure. But what's one of the biggest countries in the world by population that Google does no business? China. Google doesn't do business, right? Yeah. So you think China's just going to let Google just run cables right through the South China Sea?
All right, so. This is why I don't go at yeah. Hey, I love it so far. Continue.
All right. So if y'all are excited about Asia and India, now you're starting to see wait a second. I made a bet with Purple and I need to probably take it back. So here's how you're going to have to win this bet against someone else. Look where Stadia is right now. They're not in Asia. They got to expand to Asia. And if we weren't in a war with Ukraine or Russia, I would probably say that's a good bet, right? But we are. So you have to think about what's the next logical place that they may have to expand into. That's where you get your answer. That's where my money is on this expansion. And I think we're going to hear about this in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think we're actually going to see Mexican stadiums as well as other stadiums from another part of the world on Stadia in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Now, to get to your other thing about what that said, too many players. Now, the thing
It
that
was
I
the
know,
APK. That's what it was. I'm sorry, APK breakdown, teardown that they do. Yeah.
yes. So now, if we think about what that means, too many players, what does that mean? Well, it could mean what you said, Project Storm, and it might mean that. But here's where I get super excited, right? Is that if you think about when Stadia rolls out with things, oh, look, I'm doing that like Duck Dark. But what you think when Stadia rolls out with things, they have different teams working on things. And there's one team we have not heard from at all in the last 6 months, this entire 2022. And y'all remember on this channel, I was with Lo-Fi and I said, hey, what are my predictions for Stadia? I said country expansion, I said device expansion, and I said Stadia feature expansion. That y'all can go look at it. I said it on this channel. Now, we already got 2 of those. That team who's working on the infrastructure, I believe, has some features that are about to drop. Now, what I would think about when I think about too many players, right? And if I think about OnLive, you hear Lo-Fi talk about this. When I think about other, gaming platforms, I think that there's some stuff that we might be able to see and maybe in the party chat system. That maybe there's too many players there. There may be something to go on there. When I look at where I saw that line of nomenclature as compared to everything else in that APK breakdown, it would tell me that there's probably a product coming out. Okay, so that's where I hear it, because I understand when Google launches, and people don't realize this about Google. Google launches when they feel like they can launch their product and it has a seamless ability to work with all their other things. They're very much like Apple, the same way Apple is with hardware. Apple usually doesn't launch something until they know all the bolts and everything work. That's why Apple does whatever. Google does the same thing, but with their software platforms. They usually don't do it. They usually do it all together. Microsoft, because they launch because with the enterprise in mind, the business in mind, is where Microsoft makes all their money, y'all. They can do this spot shot, but it comes at the cost a lot of times of the consumer business, and that's why we've heard basically every other weekend xCloud is down, Microsoft services are down. So that's what I think. That's where I think like the next expansion is going. That's how I think as a business mind. That's why I look at what are the behaviors of these companies, and then I say these are the behaviors. What have I not heard? What have they signaled in the past? What have they done? And we know that Stadia has said we obviously they're expanding, right? So we know that. Obviously, we know the business development side is they're on Samsung TVs. They're already on LG TVs.
I was gonna go into that one. Oh man, I tell you what, Purple, we think alike. Let's go.
Let's go. But
Let's
yeah,
go.
so let's go there. So if y'all want to do anything,
let's
in
get
chat,
in. But before we go there, you want to highlight some of the chat real quick, right? We got to show love to the people.
No, Mr. Urban World's here. Shout out Tim. I want to shout out, y'all. We gotta shout out WinStar. Happy birthday to my fellow veteran. WinStar, happy birthday. Thank you for making another revolution around the sun. Everybody, please show your appreciation for WinStar as a content creator, WinStar as a parent, WinStar as a veteran, WinStar as a gamer.
Y'all, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Stop the show. Stop the show for a moment of silence for the brother WinStar, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday to you, and I wish you many more, man. WinStar is like family, man. This right here, the connection. Now, don't get me all emotional already. The connection is real. Hey, Purple, the connection is real around here because WinStar, I can't help but shout out people who take the time to stop by and show me love and support. You know what I mean? Who could respect me the same way I respect them, man. Happy birthday, bro. Enjoy that. And we're gonna do it way big the rest of the month. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
and
Purple, anybody else you want to shout out? Because you
yeah,
know
yeah,
I
because he just popped his head up in here, and I didn't see him before. He knows I'm about to come to him as well. It's another one of the Shades of Purple alumni, because these two are twins, right? They are like zodiac twins. They're like
yeah,
two peas in a pod. And so, if y'all did not know, Main Games
shout
has a
out,
birthday coming up in less than, if you're East Coast time, in less than 4 hours. So,
shout out.
Maine need it out there as well.
Wait,
Do a
hey,
happy.
what I need Maine to do is sing his own birthday song
Oh,
from
yeah.
me to him. You know what I'm saying? That's what I need. Shout out to the bro Maine, y'all. Straight
Yeah,
up.
so don't think I did not forget about that, y'all. So definitely thank y'all for being in the community. But I think I got Suna out there, geek. Always geek. Love to see you around. Lo-fi obviously doing his thing, letting us drive right now. Cool Breeze Gaming coming through. Um, yeah. Also Jeff, Ron Slusher, Ray. Cloudy V, Jeff, Sanchez, David Wilson. I mean, this is a great group.
And don't you dare forget about the lurkers. You got to show the lurkers some love too. Let them lurk. Let them do what they do on a Friday night. Purple, come on now.
Oh no, the lurkers are there for sure.
I want to go. I want to go back a little bit before we move on. I want to talk about my expansion thoughts.
Yeah, you go with expansion.
Right? So I do agree with you. I won't challenge you. I already learned it. I advise people, and I love me some John Scar. I was in there. They did a heck of a stream today. Shout out to them over at Stadia Connect North or whatever, right? Doing big things with the interview. But I wouldn't bet against you. And that's just not because I'm a fan of PurpleHaze or anything like that, or I appreciate you or respect you as a gamer and as an individual and all that, right? It has to do with listening and paying attention. And like you saw what Suna said in the chat, like I think he said something like I'm listening and learning or whatever. That's what I'm trying to, and I'm not, we don't put ourselves on pedestals around here, for anybody that might be tuning in because you saw the tweet or on Twitter or whatever, right? I'm not on a pedestal. I'm a gamer. I share thoughts with you all. Purple does the same thing, right? Lo-fi does the same thing. But I'm thinking, did you say South Korea? Because we're talking about that market, and I know it's crazy over there, esports and all that. PurpleHaze, does that make sense before Brazil or India, South Korea?
So like South Korea, I lived in South Korea for about 18 months. So I have a huge affinity for the land of the morning calm, as they like to call it.
Shout out.
And I was a young girl back then. But no, I think, okay, so you'd heard me mention, it kind of has the same problem though, all right? Because South Korea is considered, it's on mainland Asia.
Yeah.
So I think you have to see Japan before you see South Korea.
Right. I was going to put that out there too.
And what makes me really nervous about Japan was because the way I would have saw, knowing what I know about cloud data centers, the way I would have saw to get to Japan is its neighbor, Russia.
Yeah.
Russia's now at war. The whole entire Western world has already said they're never going to go back to normal relations. So now I think you have to put a lot of pressure coming up through, before we see any of that, we have to see Primo in Hawaii, right? There, you got to think about what are the signals to say we're at least Google is growing. Now, I'm not going to say never, but if we're talking 2022, I don't see it. Now, I could see 2023, because if we think about Stadia, obviously made a pivot. If y'all are not aware of that, when you make a strategic pivot, it takes about a solid 9 months until you start to see the little sprouts of what that strategy pivot is. And that's, if we think about 9 months after Stadia Games and Entertainment closed, that takes us to right around the end of 2021, early 2022. That's when they signaled what? They started signaling LG TV expansion. They started signaling just a few months later, immersive stream. I say all that because I think if we take another 9-month look, all of the country expansions have kind of shifted. So I could see country expansions coming next year.
Yeah.
South Korea, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I think you could see it, but you're gonna have to see some other signals before then. You're gonna have to see like data center opening up. You're gonna have to see cable being laid. Like look at Google Cloud. Okay, hear me out on that. Just like if you want to know about xCloud, look at Azure. If you want to learn about Stadia, look at what is it called? GCP.
GCP. Yeah.
And see what is the news they're making. So if you hear about GCP, and we heard about this about 2 weeks ago, GCP talking to NVIDIA, now remember Project Storm, both you and I are athletes. If you want to understand, if you don't want to get crossed over in basketball, don't look at the ball.
Right.
Look at the hips.
Look at the midline, the hips, the waistline. Right. Yeah.
And for Mr. Urban Roll, because he's a boxer.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to make sure that you can block that punch, don't look at the dude's gloves. Right. Right. Look at where that body's pivoting. Look at where they're bringing their, look where the jab, the cross are coming from.
We do it all, y'all.
Are they lifting their elbow like that? Right. The best punchers can just really smooth. So it's always that. So for these cloud gaming services, I look at what is that movement. And to me, so I think you could see South Korea, but you're going to have to see some of those other countries. Now, the thing you mentioned about it, a lot of competitive PC gamers in South Korea, but you want to know where there's probably no PC gamers really?
Brazil?
Japan.
Oh, Japan. All right, I got you.
So that's an interesting kind of conundrum there. And then then you say, all right, well, what about Australia? I know there was a lot of stuff floating around about Australia.
Yep.
You're really doing that for what? Adelaide, Perth, Sydney, Brisbane? That's about all I just named the biggest metropolitan areas in Australia. And guess what? They are separated thousands of miles depending on what. Perth is way on the western side. Brisbane, that's where I get worried by knowing the business, knowing what's going on in Russia, because I think Russia was that gateway to try to get that entire east part of, outside of mainland China. So we'll see though.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't even lie, but I want to go into. Let me just. We're talking. You just brought up xCloud again for a second, and as soon as you did, I started thinking again, and then so I want to get your thoughts on. I know how you feel about Phil Harrison, but if you could share that briefly again, like Phil Harrison, how do you like? He's at the helm right now, but you don't really hear what he's doing. Whereas Phil Spencer, you know what he's doing, so he's over there talking to Japan. You know what I mean? We know, right? So I'm sure while he's over there, he's saying, hey, in a few years, whatever, cloud gaming is going to be this. We want to be at the forefront of offering your people, your gamers, xCloud as a service or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, can you agree with that? You're not in your head, but how you really feeling?
About which one?
Phil Spencer and Japan or both. I just want to hear, like, because I think Phil Harrison has the experience, the you know what I mean? I think I don't think that he would get hired if he didn't have the know. And we talked about this, me and MM2K, we talked about it a whole lot. I have high respect for both of them. You know what I'm saying? Because they got those positions for a reason, right?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? Cloudy thoughts.
Yeah. So for one, I think Microsoft doesn't have how did my dad say it? A snowball's chance in hell in Japan.
Wow.
It just doesn't. If we look at who has the market share in cloud in Japan, it's actually the only place where one of the few places AWS and GCP are even. Look at any report, Geithner or whatever. Just look at any of them for that region of the world. It's one of the few places they're even. And it makes sense, right? because and this is the strategic nature. This is why you cannot compare these two businesses against each other. When we think about Microsoft and
Right.
Xbox, what is Xbox? Everybody keeps talking about Xbox and how they're making a lot of noise. Cowboy gets really hyped up about
No,
that, and
they are making a lot of noise.
they make
They
a
are.
lot of noise, but that's because they're a publisher. They're a developer. They bought a ton of studios, tons of IP, and they bought ton, and they're a publisher, and they're going to publish their own IP. For anybody who wants to test out, if you really want to test out Stadia versus xCloud, go look at a third-party game on xCloud and compare that to Stadia.
Yeah, I already know where you're coming
That
from with
that that's where you're going to see the testing out. So
But
then, go
I
ahead.
will stop you real quick to say though that this is the giant, you know what I mean, the Titan in Microsoft, right? So this is why I could never sleep on them and the potential. Purple, I told people on record that Microsoft was coming at everybody's neck, right? This year. And it started before this year, but then next thing you know, Activision, Bethesda, and all that stuff is in motion. This is what the same reason I was excited about Stadia and still am, is the same reason I was excited about Xbox and why I bought that OG Xbox and then that 360. Bought 4 of those, right? Because of Red Ring of Death. 4 of those, I was dedicated to the brand. And so Purple, with that, now we're seeing the fruits of those that labor or whatever. And Phil Spencer just happens to be at the helm, which is why I asked you your honest thoughts
Yeah.
on him as a leader and Phil Harrison as a leader, because I feel like Phil Harrison is a silent assassin. I feel like he's going out there, he's gonna make some moves with whatever confinements that he has from Google. This is what I feel based on the history and me as a gamer now, and doing my research from valid sources or whatever. I feel like Phil Harrison was the right guy for the job. I really did. Now, but then I hear some people don't feel that way, so that's why I asked you. I want to hear it.
No. I mean, like I said, my feelings about Phil Harris. The thing about Google is it is an engineering company through and through. Phil Harrison comes from a very technical type of background. He's never been someone who's going to be super charismatic and so forth. Phil Spencer is. I think in gaming, there is definitely a segment of population where you have to be somewhat of a show person. I have my thoughts on Activision and that purchase. People think it was an offensive move. I think it was a defensive move. Well, totally. Someone in chat, if y'all have the time, and y'all can go look this up, and maybe Project Storm, we're talking, but in chat, someone look up Google Cloud plus Activision Blizzard.
All right.
Cloud deal.
Google Cloud.
Plus Active. Tell me what now. What
that's
does it
a nuke.
say?
Hold on, that's a nuke right there. I didn't know. Hold on. Google Cloud and Activision deal. Activision Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking this up right now. Okay.
What's it say?
Let me see. Google and Activision Blizzard announced multi-year deal. Well, I'm just seeing 3 ways. Let's see. 3 ways Activision. This is from 3 ways Activision Blizzard benefits from Google Cloud. I'm seeing a lot of different.
Yeah, multi-year strategic deal. And tell me how much that multi-year strategic deal.
Okay, and then GameIndustry.biz, Activision Blizzard and Google sign esports cloud deals and all that, right? Multi-year strategic partnership. That was for esports, and I do remember us breaking that, covering that. But
if you dig into it, you're gonna see a several $100 million deal in 2020, and another one in 2021, and probably there's going to be another one in 2022. When you add that all up, how much they were gonna spend with Google GCP, you're gonna be close to $1 billion when you talk about esports, when you talk about powering that system. And oh, by the way, right while this deal was happening What did we hear about later on? Immersive stream.
Right.
Most likely they were going to also. This move, in my opinion, was a move to slow down Google. Okay, that's where I think it was not an option. When you say it's going at a neck, no,
Wow.
no.
Wow.
Okay. So kudos to Phil Spencer for recognizing the opportunity before him due to the sexual assault harassment allegations
Yeah.
against Bobby Kotick and getting that price down. So, but now let me talk about Phil Harrison right quick, right? Phil Harrison Stadia it's still considered like a bet at Google, meaning it's not a large product area. No one's talking about Stadia hardware stuff. Now, if we were talking about gaming at Google, that's a different story, right? Because Google gaming, go look at how much money Google made through the Play Store in gaming. And you're going to understand why, again, Microsoft is feeling like, holy crap, another one of the big players is getting into gaming, and they
Oh
already
man.
have. Go, someone just look tell me what it is.
Hey, you
Tell me
already
what
got
it
me thinking. You
tell
got
me
me
what it is.
thinking.
So
And
now
see,
you're
I know.
talking. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I noticed you're not laughing. I noticed that you're not smiling
Now
right
when I
now.
get into business, when you get into Purple's business mode, y'all see because I see what's happening. I know what's happening. And I know the smoke and mirrors. But that's Google. That's not Phil Harrison. And so where I have, I think, an issue with Phil Harrison, right, is I think he was a little bit, I don't know. I have some really awkward feelings about bringing people over like Jade Raymond, Shannon Studstill, right? Because that's a Phil Harrison reaching out to them,
Yeah.
right? That is, hey, I'm at Sony exec and so forth. Shannon Studstill, at Santa Monica Studios. Let me bring you over to help run this studio. Let me bring in an amazing game producer in Jade Raymond. Let me bring in all these other people. But by the time you probably already brought them in, you probably already knew that's not what you wanted to do. That's why I have a problem with Phil Harrison.
You know why I respect Phil on the flip side?
Go ahead.
Because cloudy thoughts. Because just like Phil Spencer and Microsoft made those power moves that you're talking about right now, and I do see the clear, dirty undercut. I see some of that. That's business, right? This is why I used to always tell people, you think that Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are not in competition if you want to. If you want to believe that, then go ahead. I don't. But so the same reason that Microsoft, in the same way we could see this happening right now, is the same way I saw Google being ambitious and Phil Harrison setting a plan to be ambitious and make these power moves. Let's go get those people like Jay Raymond and Shannon Studstill Purple, because then this bolsters up the, you know, the plan. We want to make a little bit of noise, so to speak. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm Phil Harrison, hey guys, I've been in the industry for a while. PlayStation, this is how we did it. This is what Sony is known for. Bang. We do this right here. We get the gamers, we get the publishers excited so that they can invest that moolah, right? Right? Invest that moolah, and then the gamers will be like, okay, they're backing this. Google's behind it. Bang. Phil Harrison making moves. Let's go. So I get that side, Purple. I really do. I get where you're coming from, of course. You know that now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the same thing though, like in casino logic, right? How do casinos make money? Because it hurt. They've measured this, right? They've measured the feeling of losing, whether it's $5 or $100. That feeling of losing is twice as much or twice as powerful as the feeling of winning. So when you brought that in, the feeling that you thought that they were making power moves, that's great. But then when you then decide that, hey, because of your lack of foresight or your lack of go-to-market strategy,
Unforeseen circumstances, I would say.
it could have been unforeseen circumstances. It could have been because, COVID happened. It could have been because of that. But I think at the end, MM2K had a great show, I think it was this week or last week, in which he showed a conversation with Phil Harrison. And he's sitting down at E3 in 2019 and he's talking. And he dissects this interview at E3 frame by frame. And basically Phil Harrison says in that thing, this is our goal. This is what we see. We don't care if people are playing in the Stadia platform or if they're doing something, they're just clicking a button and playing, which we see that future right now, right? We see that you can go to Resident Evil, what is it, 7, 8, which I forget which one that the Capcom and Stadia and Immersive Streams for Games is working on, that you can click it and you can play it.
Yeah.
Right? He says that's the future. He does not say the future is building an amazing game. Primo did this. Primo, shout out to Primo in chat. Primo went back and he said, I want to know this. I watched the whole thing one night. He said, I want to see every single video their Stadia did their whole layout to see where did they lie and where did they not lie. And so he's the only part, Primo, correct me if I'm wrong, where he said potentially they were lying and potentially they were not lying was this thing around games and having this unique, but it's kind of like you have to twist the words, you have to look at it from a certain angle. But what is not one of those things you have to twist from a certain angle is currently how we're playing Stadia. That means in my book, as someone who looked at it from an aspect of leadership and strategy, because that's what he does at that level. He lays the strategy and the leadership for the entire whole community. I think he lacked it. And for that, I hold that against him. And for that, but Phil Spencer, even though I don't like people who boast, people who are over emotional, I really don't like that, right? Because like people are all the veterans, you notice, like we can joke, but when it's business time, we get serious. And I feel like Phil Spencer, for all his boasting, I know he's doing the best he can to hold these tech companies at bay, and for that, I gotta respect them.
Yeah, because he had to convince somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I feel like Phil Harrison's hands are tied because of the vision or the whatever obstacles or whatever that might have popped up. I feel like that's why we're not talking about him in the same light. And I'm not here to defend either one of them. But this is what we do over here, Cloudy Thoughts, y'all. Hit that like button if you haven't already.
I think this is the dynamic, right? You're looking at from that tech side. You're looking for that side that gets you excited. You're looking at that from like, hey, this is what they're saying. This is the potential. They're doing that. And I think this is a good dynamic, right? Like the two different sides. Right. Neither of us are making their paychecks. We're hoping that both of them do well, because I want to see certain Microsoft titles come to light. I want to see Microsoft do well just because they do have some IP that I want to see. I want to see Stadia do well because I think more people who are gaming, the better the world is. And I also know, hey, some of these publishers making amazing games. I'm actually about to do, I'm going to give y'all need to watch Tomb Raider. I'll tell you whoever I'm interviewing. But during my research, getting prepared for that interview, an amazing IP that Microsoft owns right now was one of the most underrated PS3 games. Did not sell well. The agency went under, the studio went under. And it's an amazing IP, a huge fan base. And so shout out to all those PS3 players who played Heavenly Sword.
Oh, Heavenly Sword. I beat that.
Amazing.
I love it.
Great game, right? And the game, Heavenly Sword, they already had written out Heavenly Sword 2 and 3. And what happened? The studio went bankrupt. There's so many studios so much of THQ, right? Before they were THQ Nordic, it was so much great IP over there. And I want to see these developers and publishers do well, because I think that That's where the innovation is. That's where, if you think about a lot of those titles, that where you're just like, wow, what that experience, that story, that art style, it came from some of these studios that were much smaller in the day, doing just amazing stuff. And that's why I want to see Stadia do really well, because I think they really have kind of trying to angle that market. But Microsoft, on the other hand, if you have IP and already, I want to see you do well, because I want to see some of that IP come back. I want to see some of that breathe back to life. So that's how I feel about all of them. You know, there's
All right.
no against any of
So
them.
can we switch tracks and go back before we go back to Samsung Gaming Hub? Let's go down to Boosteroid and GFN real quick. Can we do that, please?
Oh, you
Just for a
know,
mo- just for
Boosteroid
a
and
moment.
GFN
Just
became,
for a moment.
people got
Just
their
for a
feelings
moment.
hurt last week with those two, but let's go.
I get it. I feel like we have different brackets out here. All right. You automatically gonna put Xbox and PlayStation in a bracket. Stadia is kind of like where people might want to put it in the bracket, but I think Stadia's in the bracket by itself. Um, and I'm not gonna get into that why I think that right now. But I do think when it comes to GFN and Boosteroid, I think that they're kind of similar. So that's why I put them in the same bracket, obviously. I feel like GFN is making big moves. I feel like GFN's tech, I feel like they do have a growing community. You can check that out, even though MM and my guys sometimes might disagree with the community part of it and all that stuff, but I feel like they're making moves. They're getting certain titles that people want to play purple, right? And I think that they so the hardware, they can advertise that hardware and stuff. So I feel like they're ramping up, and that's what I was hinting at earlier when I was talking about 2022 shaping up to be a big year that people might be sleeping on, because I know a lot of noises going on. Like what 2022 for cloud gaming is kind of quiet, but I don't think it'll end quiet, and it's due to GeForce Now, Boosteroid, Stadia, X Cloud, PS Now. You just saw them revamp or roll PS Now into PlayStation Plus or whatever. So I and so that's why I feel like I do. So GFN, I know you don't have a problem with them. Boosteroid, I heard you say some things, and that's why I definitely want you to kind of elaborate on how
Elaborate.
you feel
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, because I've been using GeForce Now, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do. I mean, you can see it just like you see how now Stadia. It's interesting because if you go to the Reddits alone, you see how many users are in the Reddit forum or whatever, right? When it comes to Stadia. So if anybody was wondering how many players are on Stadia, that's just one place you can go, right? But GeForce Now, has a respectable number of users over there that's talking dialogue and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the forums on both, so I know. So I feel like we need all of them, of course. I think you agree. But I think GeForce Now and Boosteroid are not playing around. I think that these two companies, as well as Shadow, you could throw Shadow in if you want. Shadow is doing a different thing too. Like it's in a different bracket as well. It's offering you a whole gaming PC. I mean, as well as a whole PC entirely that you could do Excel and whatever else you want. You could stream from it. You could do whatever you want to do from Shadow, right? So all these companies, they really don't get the fanfare at times that I think they deserve. And I don't think we should overlook one or the other one because they all combine to make cloud gaming. You know what I'm saying? So, what are your thoughts on on GeForce Now and what they need to do or what they're doing right, or Boosteroid and the same thing? What are your thoughts? Cloudy thoughts.
So when I look at, and this controversial topic, but if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. Sometimes I'm going to call it a duck. And so when I see GeForce Now, here's the difference between GeForce Now and Boosteroid to me. I can go look at GeForce Now and look at their entire business model. I could look at their entire, value chain. I look at all of that. I can analyze it. I can see everything. Why? Because NVIDIA is a publicly traded company. And so then I can just say, okay, they're going to talk about it. I can't do that with Boosteroid. That makes me very, very skeptical of Boosteroid. When I look at some of the things that, Cloudy V talked about this, and we talked about this last week on the show. When you go look at, when you actually look at the legal wording of their contract, it doesn't sound like a legal contract. It does not sound like, having dealt with the European Union where Boosteroid supposedly is at. It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
When you sell me like, they're working out of the Ukraine, but we know they're not doing that right now, right? I've already told you, like, the studios, the places that were looking at the Ukraine, like, aren't doing business. So when I then see, like, they're working out of Cyprus, that doesn't sound right to me. As a consultant, when we had to do business in Cyprus, like our legal team would say, like, no, you can't sign off on that because it's hard to track. So I see all that with Boosteroid, and so then that's when you got to understand how cloud play gaming works, and then you have to understand virtual machines. You have to understand remote play. You have to understand why people could do cloud gaming 10, 12 years ago. If you had access to your computer, to your company's cloud infrastructure, and you could set up a virtual machine, and you could then push the game, you had cloud game. That's theoretically where companies, like some of these software engineers, were like, oh my gosh, we could actually do something big with this. I think that's how Google started, Stadia started, to tell you the truth. So I'm not really like, yes, they can do it. A lot of these companies can do it. But the problem isn't so much can they do it, but can they do it the right way? And, I'm going to get, like, if y'all want to understand why some of these companies aren't pushing their tech all that they can do, we talked about this behind, after Shades of Purple storm.
Yeah.
Look at the EU. I know I read this about AWS for sure. But go look at the EU. Y'all can look this up. I tell y'all everything I look at. It's all publicly available knowledge. At least what I tell y'all is all publicly available knowledge.
Yeah.
And
I got that.
So go look that up and go look at what the European Union told big tech on data caps. They told them that y'all need to curb your data. You're shutting down the remote home workforce because home networks were not used to streaming that much data that long at those locations. So they told them to turn it down. That's why you're not seeing these things blowing it up. Because guess what? The European Union can go after Microsoft. European Union can go after AWS. The European Union can go after NVIDIA. The European Union can go after Google. All these companies are multi-hundred billion. They're actually multi-trillion except for Boosteroid or NVIDIA. I think their market cap's around 200 to 300 billion. Who's counting amongst friends? Where's Boosteroid at? No one cares. Like, that's the thing. I'm not a believer in what Boosteroid is saying because they're not big enough to go after. They're running beyond, like, in the cracks. You're working in between a war-torn country in a place that every single phone scam in Europe and Africa originates from. Cyprus. That's where Boosteroids were hanging out at.
All right, so let me
say
that.
I
thought you were done.
No,
go ahead.
Go
ahead. Finish that.
I think they can. So to your point, yes, you can do it. But can you do it the right way that's a sustainable business? We're having fun with Boosteroid right now. Continue to do it because everything I said could be false. It's just my own opinion, right? So I have nothing against it, right? What I'm saying, though, is I'm skeptical. I don't think it's that hard to set up a business. And even if they have no malintent, right? I'm not saying these are criminals and stuff.
Right.
But I'm just saying that there's not a paper trail. You don't hear a lot of if you're telling me 9 to 5 Google picked up Boosteroid's article, okay, that's not the same. Show me Forbes. Show me some of these people who do actual journalism. And show me where they then interviewed the CEO, where they interviewed the CTO, where they interviewed the people that you've seen GFN get interviewed by. Can't. So that's where I'm like, and there's a lot of cloud services that do what Boosteroid does, actually. If you actually look at, there's a lot of them who do it. We just don't hear about it, right? Here, we just never heard of it.
And that's why I put those two in the same bracket. You know what I mean? Like because I knew people had, if you heard of something, you probably heard of Shadow, GeForce Now, and Boosteroid, right? So that's the only reason I put those two now. But they are in San. Shout out to Vet Cloud Gaming, man. He knows what's up. He uses both GFN.
Yeah, no. Like, if y'all are having fun with it, go for it. I
haven't used Boosteroid yet, but I am definitely interested in that 4K 120 and stuff. So what they're doing is Purple. They're talking to the consumers, in my opinion. They're talking that consumer language. Those who are willing to pay $500 for a console, $2,000, $3,000 for a PC, like we always talk about, right? Mm-hmm. So and I think they're in the best shape to reach more cloud gamers faster than the rest. I think Microsoft, as well as Google and everybody, Amazon, they have great potential to reach the masses. We know that they are going to hit those numbers, right? That 1 billion one day. I don't know who's going to be first, but they're going to hit that because you can't sleep on AWS. That would be dumb. You know what I mean? Azure's making moves. They're top 3, GCP and all that with Google. So, but you can't count out these services because they're speaking to PC gamers now. And I know that's not what you were doing, but I'm just saying the people who are investing in GeForce Now and Boosteroid, and if you care about Shadow and others, right? Like you said, there's a list. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter what we think about the practices or where they're coming from. And Cypress, at the end of the day, in my opinion, like you gave yours, I'm just giving mine. It's just sometimes it's just like what's convenient for people, who can market the best, and things like that, right? How do you reach those millions of PC gamers, hundreds of millions, right? We know billions of people have PCs and stuff, but how do you reach those hundreds of millions of gamers that we know are PC gaming that's out there? And that's why I said that they have the quickest route to reaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't sleep on them as well.
No, I hear you. So PC gaming is, PC, depending on what part of the world you're talking about in the United States, I can say this in the United States, but depending on what part of the world you're talking about, PC gaming is either stagnating or on the decline. That's a true story. Look at any market research on PC gaming on the number of games sold. So when you're building a strategy and you look at that, you're not going to target it. So I think GFN's actually the one who's the closest to it, because their they made a NVIDIA, right? I remember when NVIDIA traded at $14 a share.
Yeah, I remember that too.
That was like 2011, 2012. I remember looking at it. I was like, okay, NVIDIA, AMD, they're all down there. And NVIDIA made a business out of, really kind of amplified like the home PC build market. And it just blew up. I think a lot of companies are looking at that and saying, like, how can we tap into it? I don't know if that market is growing, right? And so if I am like tech savvy enough to be able to set up a server, virtual machine type of situation, it's easy money to go after. And I think it does speak to PC gamers. But I think where I disagree with you is I don't think it's going to bring people to the cloud like you think. I think the thing that's going to bring people to the cloud, people play games because it's fun and because it's convenient for the most part. Now, not you, Project Star. I'm not saying you.
No, I know what you're talking about. We're talking about it as a whole. Yeah, I know where you're coming. Even if you did say me, I would be like, yo, what are you talking about? Then I just come right back at you in a way. But go ahead.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's a reason why when we look at the gaming market right now, the segment of the gaming market that is growing is mobile gaming. And so when you go and talk to these people about, sure, you have the people who love to play Candy Crush. Like I have a colleague, she's like a senior colleague of mine. She loves Candy Crush.
Right.
And but for the most part, and she's just like, I love the little dot, blah blah blah. But when you actually talk to most people who play mobile games, they're just like, it's quick, it's easy, I get in, I get out. And so when you talk about these big PC games, that's not what PC gaming necessarily is. That's why I don't think that's what's going to do it. I actually think what's going to do it is two different people, and they're just so happen to be kind of behind the other big ones. I think those two people are, I think Google has the right idea with their free to play, click to play. Once they figure out kind of how to make that, like these people will like these games based upon these clicks, and this is where they were at last. This is what they watched on YouTube. This is what they like, the music they like. We know that 90% of people who are in that cluster like this game.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a way to click it. Those people do not know anything about cloud gaming. They don't know anything about downloads. They don't know anything about anything other than they click the game and now they're on the cloud. Or now that they're playing the game.
Right.
It's invisible to them. Right? I think Amazon's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Amazon is going to say like, hey, they're the most amazing storefront in the world. And for everybody who continues to, let me put this very clear to you all. Big tech in gaming, those two particularly, GFM for a different reason. You have to understand why they're playing in the space. They don't care to sell you a game. They don't care to sell you a game. Okay? They don't. They make their money on the back end.
I agree.
So if y'all are like, well, they're trying to sell the game, just stop. Just don't let. Microsoft cares. Because Microsoft has sold games in the past, and that's why I brought this up in the beginning of this chat. Once you start reporting out on sales, you always have to report out on sales. That's the fact. Now, GFN's doing it because GFN understands, or not GFN, NVIDIA does it.
NVIDIA, yeah.
NVIDIA does it because they understand, and if you remember what I said, if you're ahead in gaming computing, you are ahead about 98% of computing. Okay,
and that's the thing. That you're right. I agree.
So now Microsoft, right? So why is Microsoft playing? You know, we're everybody talks about Flight Simulator. Microsoft has a gold mine in Flight Simulator. It has nothing to do with xCloud. What does it have to do? Now let's put on our futuristic strategic hats. We wanted to talk about the future of cloud gaming. I'm going to talk to you about the future of cloud computing. If I can do a simulation, okay, of the weather, of a flight, of a trucking thing, and I can now start to transpose that over to autonomous vehicles, autonomous robotics. Do you see how that amplifies that? And you created an industry that's not here.
Right.
And everybody who's playing these games right now, y'all are just testing, it's giving them data so that potentially that matters, right? Because now Maersk, Presidential Lines, UPS, FedEx, these companies would want that because what's going on right now? Project Storm, you said you have a what that you didn't go to this weekend?
Family reunion.
Where was it?
Florida.
Why'd you not fly out?
Because I heard that flights are getting canceled like crazy, so my aunt advised me not to do it right now.
So if anybody who's ever been out into a flight line or has ever been out to a flight tower, what do those computers look like? I'll tell you, they look super antiquated. They don't look like Flight Simulator. So now you're starting to see if you can make that run smoother. How much do the airlines lose anytime you have all of these different delays and stuff? Sure, you can't predict the weather. I'm not saying you can do that. But if you can simulate a flight pattern, a lot of times you can save on fuel costs. You can make a more efficient route based upon you understand how the weather's going. Have you ever noticed when you fly, sometimes you can get there in 4 hours versus like 3 hours because of
Yeah.
how the tailwind happens? Now you're starting to see like why these people are playing in this space. It has applications beyond gaming. And that's where I have to get you. Like when I talk about cloud computing, I talk about, sure, we can talk about Stadia, we can talk about gaming. Everybody's like, well, let's go back to talk about Outriders, Purple. We'll talk about that and we'll get excited about it. But that's why when I look at gaming, who do I get excited for because of what they're doing for gaming? And to me, I get excited basically for about 3 companies. Actually, all of them in a way.
Yeah, but Google, Microsoft, Amazon.
No, I like GFN because I think GFN's pushing them.
And you know what I think?
NVIDIA. I keep saying it.
And that's why I put them in different brackets, because with GFN, I'm just going to say I've been using NVIDIA products, so, I can tell you what they do. And I'm definitely into the AI, the self-driving cars and all that futuristic stuff that you talked about, robotics and all that stuff, right? But NVIDIA, they're pushing the one thing that we're using on the RTX 3080 tier, super pods and all this stuff. So just like Google, they're making a pitch to other companies or whatever, like saying, hey, we can help power. Look, you said it earlier, Google, NVIDIA. We heard the rumblings about how Google might be using NVIDIA GPUs with Stadia. If that, and I don't see why that wouldn't be the case, because why not, be compatible with both big brands out there, if not even Intel, once they get up and rolling. But on the GPU side, I know they already had the CPUs, but that's what I'm saying, Purple. It's like, that's why I always try to tell people, I don't just get excited about GeForce Now. You got to look deeper than GeForce Now. Don't just get excited about xCloud. Look at the company. That's why most of us in here, if not all, got excited about Stadia. If you use Stadia, you got excited about it. I bet you mainly, everybody has said it one time, yo, Google's making this? Google's doing this? The same company that came out with Google Search and all this? Oh, yeah, YouTube. I'm in there, PurpleHaze. And that's why Google's going to be okay with the long game. I didn't see that at all times, but I see it now. Microsoft is definitely going to, you don't bet against Microsoft. Come on, they'll slap you in the face.
They're all going to be.
Exactly. You're going to sleep on Amazon? I mean, really though? You're going to sleep
Amazon
on Twitch?
The biggest cloud. People don't realize, once again, Amazon is the biggest cloud gaming company in the world because
by far. Their infrastructure by far.
Because they have relationships with every major publisher, developer out there.
Right. And AWS is like six or however many times. Like nobody is close to them when it comes to reach. So with that being said, you don't bet against Amazon. Yeah, you can make fun of any one of these companies in the present, right? Yeah, man, Amazon. Let me know when they get some games on the channel that I want. Yeah, you can say that now, but they also had Prime, right? They just had Prime Gaming. Luna controller, $40. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Luna controller, $40. I might just buy one just to put on my wall. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that these companies have. You got to look at the company as a whole as well. That's what I get excited about, Purple. It's more than just gaming. It's more than just tech.
I think, like I said, I get excited for all of them. I just think that it's, and we got Maker of Chaos. I got to shout him out. I have much respect for Maker. I watch him on Twitch. I never can catch your stuff live, Maker. I always have to watch the video later on. But I do want to address, like I said before, exclusive content. It depends on what game you're playing. And I mean that multi-layered, right? Exclusive content does drive people to go to your thing to buy your stuff. But what do I continue? People don't understand how Amazon and Google play. They just don't. Like, how is Google a multi 1.6, $1.5 trillion company? And they give you basically everything for free. Well, obviously, we give them information, but how do they use that information? It's mind-boggling how they make their money. And they have a deep moat around it. Google doesn't need an exclusive deal to get money from you.
I said the same thing.
Google is a business-to-business company. And this is the thing again about Japan. Remember we talked, you asked me about Microsoft in Japan. Microsoft's not going to have, what did I say, snowball's chance in hell in Japan. Because they compete against Japan. That's why. Look at where the studios Microsoft buys are. Right? Microsoft is the big dog certain places. Look at the conferences that these companies go and support. Look at like the game developer conferences. Look at the studios that they come and do, that they make deals with. And you can start to see the strategy that's forming. Capcom. You know why Capcom was huge for GCP?
Why?
Because what other cloud provider has said that they have a major exclusive deal with the Japanese company? Don't get me wrong. Sega did announce something with Microsoft. I ain't going to take that away from them. But it's not exclusive. It just said that they were partnering. When you're talking about major big time publishers, right now it's only Google. AWS has them too. Not gonna take anything away from them. But what do I continue to tell y'all to look at? What is the big elephant in the room when we talk about game publishers that for some reason no one mentions? Because supposedly it's a kid's game. A kid's console, Nintendo. Nintendo has cloud games, y'all. Look up Nintendo cloud games. Every single game, minus Kingdom Hearts. And if you look at Kingdom Hearts and all the different publishers and developers and everything else involved with that, you can understand why we don't see that on other platforms. But every single cloud game from Nintendo is actually backed. Is either on Luna, Game Pass, xCloud, Stadia. You can almost promise yourself that Nintendo was trying to figure out which one is the one that they wanted to work with. In the next year, look at the Nintendo Cloud games that are coming out and look to see which one of those they picked. It's going to come out. You're going to remember this conversation. Look at it. You're going to see that was the prize. And whoever that one got, guess what? Square Enix Japan, Bandai Namco, Konami, right? We already see who Capcom is with. Okay, I just named 5 of them. The only other one is Sony. Everybody believes Sony and Microsoft have a deal. Big Sony has a deal with Microsoft for their enterprise services. Big Sony. PlayStation, though. PlayStation has their own data centers. And they're building on them. Everybody's like, oh, it's running on xCloud. No, it's not. Go actually read a Japanese article. Don't do the quick search in there where they show Microsoft and Sony. Yes, they did like a demo. A demo costs like $250,000 to do. You say, hey, let's do a demo. Let me get and they build like a level of a game. Sony has said, no, we're going to build our own data centers. We don't want to rely on them.
So what did they do with Azure?
Azure's it's their enterprise. So Outlook, Microsoft Office, that's big Sony. Big Sony. Okay. We're talking Sony Music. Sony, like the Sony business side. All of that, yes, they're overall are using Microsoft.
Or digital distribution.
And everything outside of like the very bare minimum is what PlayStation. And don't get me wrong, Microsoft is providing certain services to PlayStation. I'm not saying that that's not the case. But if you think the entire game load for what is it? PS
now? Yeah.
PS Now?
Yeah, PS Now.
If you think that is all ran on Azure, you gotta be kidding yourself. Go look at Sony's cost distribution. You'll see that they're building data centers. Same thing with Walmart. They don't want to be relying on big tech. So that's why, like, when people talk to me about like what's going on, like, no, go look at what the cloud. Go talk to me about Azure. Go talk to me about AWS. Go talk to me about GCP, and talk to me about NVIDIA. And then I will. Then we can have the conversation about game development. Then
That's a major key. That's a major key right there. You know what I'm saying? Listen, Nintendo, I said it too. I said it. I'm on Ying Meets Yang Gaming Podcast with Snow Bunny. Shout out to my fam right there. You could hear me saying Nintendo because she's a big Nintendo advocate. Big Nintendo. She's not a fangirl of anything, but I tell you this, man. You know what? I wish I could get Bunny up on Purple on Man, let me talk to Bunny. But anyway. I said it, Purple. You could tell they were testing the waters. I mean, that was apparent to anybody with eyes. You know what I'm saying? You didn't even need glasses to see that they were out there trying to say, hey, we're interested in the cloud thing because we know the potential, right? This is Nintendo and they will, overnight, they will kill the game. Overnight, Purple, I'm talking about if they make an announcement, hey, we're all in on cloud. Whether that be through something like immersive streaming or whatever the case is, they kill the game instantly, and everybody goes crazy. To me, everybody goes crazy.
You know, I think Nintendo. It's going to be very telling over the next 2 years with Nintendo, right? Because I continue to ask people. I ask a lot of people this question. Who's the major people who are going to win in cloud? Like, which company? With first-party studios, which of those the big console companies is going to win in cloud? A lot of people lean towards Microsoft, and I have a good reason for it. They always forget Nintendo. And I said, if Nintendo ever were to get into cloud, because what does cloud do? Cloud allows you one of the things, same thing what we said about like upgrading your PC hardware.
Yeah, girl.
And as a Nintendo person, right? And this is why I think we have some, like, the cloud community brings all these former people together, and we all are like in the same pot talking to each other. Nintendo people understand the biggest criticism we had from Nintendo was it was about games. You didn't have any of the good games, and even when you did get the good games, they were a horrible port. The AAA ports were not good. So if Nintendo could ever get the good the third-party games to go with their first-party games, because Nintendo is the undisputed champ of first-party game sales. And now you can tap into the third-party game sales, which actually, when we look at the top 20 game sales every year,
that's Nintendo in a bag.
Nintendo has most of the first-party. PlayStation and Xbox usually have one or two, and then the rest are third-party. So if you're now telling me that Nintendo is going to have 3/4 of the top 3/4 to 80, 60, 80% of the top selling games on their console.
Oh boy.
Like now.
Hey. No, go ahead, Purple. Go ahead.
Now you're starting to see like how I like see things, like when I get excited about cloud, when I get excited about this, when I get excited about gaming. Because I like that, to me, those are the prizes. Like, sure, we can talk about exclusive content all day.
Well, first of all,
go ahead.
You heard me saying exclusivity could go the way of the dodo bird, because I know developers wouldn't mind if their game reached millions more people than what was locked on one particular platform. I mean, that's just what I think. You don't have to agree with me. I don't disagree with you if you think otherwise. But so that's why I was saying when Stadia, SG&E, and all that stuff, you know what I mean? When they went a different route, I was like, okay, that's not going to stop Google from doing what they have to do, because they're out here hopefully pitching to third-party developers and publishers, right? So I'm like, yo, how much money did I threw Call of Duty out there as an example, and now we know that Microsoft went out there and made that power move, and we have to see what Purple was saying earlier. We had to see some of that, and it has to make logical sense because why not? They had the means, they had the capital to do it. Why not make that move? I mean, you're trying to shut the game down. You're trying to be the first to a billion. Why wouldn't you make a move like that? So all that stuff was clear and apparent to me. You could hear me, MM, and others talking about that. You know what I'm saying? Clive and other people, right? Breaking that down on a regular basis, Purple. So I'm with you on that, and it does make you think. And I kept, and we didn't mention Nintendo until you brought it up. Like, look how we overlooked Nintendo at early in the show.
But it makes the perfect partner, doesn't it?
Right.
It's you know, the what are they called? Not Nerf Report. Bill
Shout out to
and
Brian
Lloyd.
anyway.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian. Bill and Lloyd, Nerd Nest. You know, they were on Nerf Report. That's why they popped in my mind. And Bill, I believe, said, "Hey, I don't think Nintendo's going to be in the cloud for the longest." And it's like, well, first of all, they're already kind of in the cloud. Will they go all in the cloud? I don't think so. Just because I think that they still understand. Like, if you understand, Nintendo's mission is to is something like this. Chat or someone in there. This is just off the top of my head. I haven't seen it in a few months, but it's something like to put on a smile on the face of everyone we touch. Right, touch, because Nintendo's traditionally a card company. They will always have some kind of physical touch because it's like they still pertain to that little kid. But I think what we saw, have y'all seen Beretta 3? Y'all see that trailer?
Well, Bayonetta. Beretta. You're thinking military. You're going back military. I used to actually work at a company that made 9mm for the army. You know what I'm saying? I used to do that.
Beretta. I said the type.
You know what I'm saying? I used to assemble those bad boys for the military.
Y'all see that? Yeah. They are moving and they are starting to see it. So I think Nintendo, like I said, I think Nintendo has some big moves, and I think if you wanted to land them, Microsoft's out the way, right? They're not going to do it with Microsoft because Microsoft competes with them. But if you're going to try to land them, that's going to be an AWS Google fight. And if you already see Google there take on Capcom, I don't hear AWS. And let's see what happens with Bandai Namco. Let's look at what games are on the server, what's on Stadia versus what games are on Luna. And this should tell you who's winning the Japan battle. So, and then once you can understand that, you can maybe understand who's going to win that. And now you're starting to see how Google will think about that. And eventually, I'm not saying you're going to see Mario on Stadia. I'm not saying that. But it probably makes a lot of sense if Nintendo's like, we're paying for these ports that are crappy. Name your Assassin's Creed on Switch. Name your Kingdom Hearts on Switch. You make that play well. We'll pay for the port. You use the technology. And then on the back end, you can use the third party in your own storefront so that we can also recoup some of that money from your storefront. I don't know, y'all.
I don't know either, but I can tell you right now, if I see Google, if I see them as a company and everybody wants them to make major moves, that would be one major move that would shake the planet. That's all I'm saying. If they were to do something like that, if they could pull off something like that now. But anyway, let's go back to the Samsung Gaming Hub. We're approaching the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, we gotta close. Yeah.
So
people gotta go. Yeah. I know.
Okay, yeah. So, Samsung Gaming Hub, we got all of that. All these companies, you see xCloud, Luna, Stadia, and GeForce Now. They're on the Samsung Gaming Hub. So, again, that's another thing for 2022 to keep your eyes on. Like, big things are happening in the world of cloud gaming. So, I don't see any of the major companies saying, let's bow out of this. It just doesn't make any sense. That's all I want to say about it.
No, I think they're all making moves. I'm really interested for the first person to play the Samsung Gaming Hub to compare them. It also doesn't, escape me that again, it just seems really interesting that Microsoft went out its way this week to say that we do not think cloud gaming will replace consoles. Where if we looked at about 3-4 months ago, they said we listened to Sarah Bond, right? She's all pumping up cloud gaming. So it makes me really think, like, why the change of tune? Do they know something in their own infrastructure that's not working? GFN, we already knew this back in January. NVIDIA and Google both, or Stadia, GFN both said that they were going to be on the TV. So we already knew that. AWS, obviously, they came out of beta. Luna came out of beta. So happy to see them, join the party. I continue to think that Luna is not going to be like I just think they're going to compete a different way. And I just look at their own kind of internal studios and so forth, like how they do that. Don't get me wrong, they make great shows. I'm not saying Amazon does not make good shows. Not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, how they come out the gate with it. It seems like it's an add-on to a supplemental already subscription. I just think it's a little different there. But no, I'm really waiting to see how these play on the Samsung Gaming Hub. And look, we've all been there. Everybody on this chat is really technical. So I want you to imagine that aunt, that cousin that is not really technical. They get the Samsung TV, they get the gaming hub, and they're like, all right, I want to play a game. And this person already doesn't know how to, like, even work the remote. Which is going to be the easier one for them to play between the four? Now, granted, they don't have any type of gaming subscription yet, but they're like, I want to play a game. Which is going to be the easier one for them? For if you knowing out of those two, Project Storm, chat, Game Pass, Stadia, GFN, or Luna, and they're like, I just want to play a game. Which one would you tell them, knowing that you have to explain to them how to get to it? Which one's the easier one to play?
I'm going to tell people the easiest one to jump into is Stadia. But if you have a teenager in your household who cares about performance, it depends. Purple, that's GeForce Now.
No, I'm not, yeah, but
But you're right.
We're talking of. Thank you, Maker.
The easier one to jump into is going to be Stadia. That one has games for your kids or your whatever. You know what
I'm just saying, signing up. Let's think about that. Because a lot of times this is like, well, what email did you use? What are you doing? Like, right. That's why I said, like, to work GFN, they gotta have what? They gotta have a Steam or app. They have to connect it to something.
That's true.
So
they're making it easier for that connection process to occur.
They are making it easier. Are making it easier. But right now, right? Which one are you? You're gonna have to say, okay, you don't have that other stuff. I gotta take you to something else. You're gonna have to go to your computer. Okay, Game Pass.
Right.
All right. You gonna sign up to Game Pass on the TV right now?
Yeah, but when you do, you're gonna realize that, what's this pixelation and stuff at times, depending on your conditions, your network conditions.
Maybe.
But they're all working on that. They're all
working on it. But that's why people say Stadia. I think Luna could probably do it too. Like, I'm not gonna discount Luna. That's why they say they're ahead, because they understand that user journey, right? We're talking of the next billion gamers. These aren't people who are already into gaming. These aren't people who are already figuring out the system so they can start to figure out, like, that they already are supercomputer savvy. We're talking about potentially, right? Sarah Bond lays it out perfectly. I love Sarah. She lays it out perfectly from xCloud. These gamers are the gamers that are already gaming in mobile. In mobile, you can just pick up the phone, start playing. That's what they're used to. They're not used to, like, let me go over here to log on to over here to log on over here. We talked about it. It's that frictionless gaming. Who is that frictionless gaming? Who does that? That, to me, is going to be the person who gets to $1 billion.
There it is. So, I mean, all that says to me is an exciting.
It's exciting for you because you know how to use it.
I'm going to be using whichever one offers the best. Whatever, you know what I mean? If you offer me the best bang for my buck and the best experience, I'm going to be rocking with you. I don't care if there's 2, 3, 4, 5 subscriptions. I'm going to have all of them if I need to. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not missing the boat.
Yep, sooner
So,
you're right.
so
Yeah,
you want to
no,
get some chat though? I mean, what you want to do? What you want to do?
no, I just wanted to look at chat. I mean, we've been holding them, we've been holding court here for a second. I see Maker out there talking about the games and the content. I know, Maker, don't worry. Like everybody here, we're going to I don't think there's one person in chat right now who is an exclusive gamer. And that's what I think is great. Everybody understands, like, yo, if there's a game somewhere and I want to play it, everybody here, I believe, has the ability to go play it. Now, how much we prioritize it, how much time we have, that may all depend. But as long as you like gaming, this is a great time for you to like gaming, and and it's only going to make the product better. Whatever it is, it's either going to, if it's Stadia, who's really trying to help the developers, if it's Nvidia, who's really trying to push the tech, if it's Luna, who's really trying to connect to consumers, or if it's Xbox Game Pass, who has a lot of money and is going to make you feel better because they're going to tell you what you want to hear.
That's how you feel?
I just had to throw that out there. That's not how I feel.
All right.
But if it's Xbox Game Pass, who has a lot of that content that we grew up, a lot of that IP that we grew up on, and we're like, yo, we want to see that sequel come out. Yo, we want to see them really clean up house to give us a really better product than what we were getting at the independent developer. Like, I'm going to give them their props. If that's whatever it is.
It's not like you have a little thing going on with Xbox.
I'm
going. You and MM2K on the same page are y'all on the same page when it comes to Xbox?
Where's my Xbox controller?
I'm just saying. I use my Series X controller every day when I play on GFN and Stadia.
I'm gonna give it to him. Look, I told you, Phil Spencer, I give him respect. Look, I used to be an Xbox person, or not Xbox, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Used to be a Microsoft person. Nothing against.
Right.
Look, I told you. Just put Age of Empires on Game Pass Cloud. That's all. Just do that. I'll be happy.
Now, one thing about Xbox, they're gonna get the games. Let's just we can forget all about them not getting the games. You know what I'm saying?
They already have Age of Empires. They got the cloud. Why aren't they putting that on the cloud yet?
Well, you could ask that question about all of them. I mean, for real, like you can ask that about all of them.
No, they have it's a Microsoft public. Well, I just want to see that one. Google does not have.
Yeah, it's like Amazon with New World and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the time will come. The time will come.
And when that time comes, Purple will then start playing.
But there will be more users, so they're not worried about Purple. They're worried about the collection of people. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, interesting time to be a cloud gamer in general. And I don't know, Purple. I don't know. I think we covered a lot of different things today.
We did
it.
Lo-Fi, hopefully we did you well. Chat, hopefully we did you okay. Hopefully we didn't leave you too much on cloudy thoughts. Storm giving us the tech side, giving us the enthusiasm, telling us about the tech, what you're excited about, telling us why. That's super exciting.
And I jump into the business side. Purple giving y'all the business side from many different angles in a way with a straight face, letting y'all know how serious it really is while we're out here speculating and thinking and all that stuff outside of the box. But I mean, that's what we do on Cloudy Thoughts, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I held it down for my brother Lo-Fi. That's just how it is. Sometimes we got to fill in, man, and make things happen, So I had fun. I honestly, me, I could do a 3-4. Obviously, I could do a 3-4 hour stream, but me and Cowboy have been doing that. It's what it is. But especially when the conversation is good, Purple. And that's one thing we bring to the table each and every time we all have these conversations. Chat, they could have gone anywhere else in the world. I always say it. Shout out to Hov because he said it first. That's his line. But you could be anywhere else in the world is how I always feel, y'all. But you're here rocking with me and Purple. I'm glad y'all stopped by. It's Friday. Y'all could be doing 100,000 different things. But share this out. Let people know because this conversation right here was one to make you think. And every time we get together, PurpleHaze, that's going to occur. Tell you that now.
No, well, thank you, Storm, again. Hopefully, you could be doing 100,000 things. You are, like I said, Ultimate Gamer. It's a privilege to be able to share the screen with you again. Twice in a week and a half. I feel like a girl in a candy store. Super excited. So thank you again.
That's what's up. And shout out to you and Doc yesterday. Doc Dark 911985, man. There's levels to this, man. Y'all did a heck of a job. Kept everybody entertained. So go check that out, y'all. Dopeness.
Yes, and shout out to chat. Let's give everybody here. Let's start. Mr. Urban World, thank you. Y'all go check out his channel. He just went live with it. Awesome job, Mr. Urban World. David Wilson, always amazing. It's late over there, David. Thank you. Crow, you're outriders again, Crow. I know you. I am better. Lo-Fi, obviously. Suna, always there. It's always love, Suna. Hopefully you got my idea why I said Brazil isn't next. But you need to get on Shades of Purple here pretty soon. Maker, it's always a privilege to get your opinion on things. I think between our two opinions, the truth is there. I just think the truth is a little bit closer to my opinion than yours, but yes, what it is. Sean L, hey, what's up? I did get something from you from Squid, so I'm hoping I can get your stuff for Breakpoint or Breakpoint. Oh, let me put that out. If y'all are still having issues with Breakpoint, please send me a message. We're trying to get that resolved with Ubisoft. I have had some luck recently, so if you're having some issues, let me know. Hit me up in Twitter. We'll try to get you squared away this next week coming up. Windstar, happy birthday again. Happy birthday. Primo, always a wonderful, living in the dream in Hawaii. Who else do we got here? Vet Cloud Gaming. All love with Boosteroid.
Absolutely.
Same with Boosteroid. Ron, shout out to y'all. Love you. Keep doing what you're doing. Take my thing as a data point, grain of salt. I hope I am wrong because I think that competition is well needed. Let me see who else is there. I think we had Ray, the gaming cyborg. Ray, what can I say? You're always the most amazing person ever. Thank you for just always being there and being supportive. Just cyborg, amazing. Who else? Did I miss anybody?
Man, we had Cool Breeze. Did you get Cool Breeze?
Cool Breeze, yes, coming in, talking about the PC gaming type of stuff. Amazing stuff, Cool Breeze.
Did you get Main's World?
Main's World, y'all. We try to hold it down, Main, but we couldn't. Happy early birthday to you. Enjoy that time, enjoy the family. And also, like Storm said, sing happy birthday to you from us.
That's right.
Right? Is that what we said?
Did you get Geek the Sneak? I don't know if I heard you rhyme. Geek the
Sneak. Geek the Sneak. Geek and David Wilson will always hold a special place to me because they were the first to win the Shades of PurpleHaze giveaway game. Geek, I see you. We got to play Outriders as well. We played with Geek one time and we were a little over leveled than him. He was like, his bullets weren't doing anything. I know, Geek, I see you in there playing. We're going to get in there. We're going to do some awesome stuff. And I need to get GFN to work because Geek is giving me a code to a game that I need to work. So, Geek, I see you out there. Who else? Who am I missing?
Booster Ron? You got Booster Ron?
Booster Ron? Yeah. Amazon. I think Amazon Ron won one of the giveaways from Stadia Docious this week. Congratulations, Ron Slusher. I actually got to play with Ron a few weekends ago. And he did an amazing job just showing the power of the cloud. Was on his phone playing, then switched to his TV. Amazing gamers, amazing doing all the technology. But yeah, no, it was Boosteroid Ron today. And happy to see Peppa Pig on Game Pass Forum.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Literally saw that in the library today. Jeff G, you got to shout Jeff G out for sending the people over again. If you already called them out.
It wasn't called rating. It is called YouTube rating. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well,
rating.
Sending people over, yeah.
He's just sending us up. But also shout out to Jeff for just doing an amazing job marketing, doing an amazing job doing retro gaming today.
Right.
A great PS2 game. But also shout out to Jeff. So if y'all did not know, he does another show called The Business Of. and he did a show about the business of the NIL, so getting college athletes paid. He interviewed a CEO of a company this week. Great interview. Great interview. Learned a lot. I thought it was great. Shout out, Jeff. You're doing amazing content. Thank you so much. Who else? Who else are
Cloudy
we?
V. You got Cloudy
Cloudy,
V?
of course. You know
Oh,
Cloudy
all right.
V.
Okay.
That is your partner. Why don't you do Cloudy V? Because y'all both are PUBG champions.
Cloudy V, you know how, I mean, come on, Cloudy V has been rocking with me, man, supporting me for a while. So Cloudy V already knows what's up, man. And I'm just making sure you call people out that I thought I might have heard you miss. And like Sanchez, I'm sure you got Sanchez early, though.
Oh, Sanchez. We got to get Sanchez too. But you keep going with Cloudy V. I'll get Sanchez here in a second.
Yeah, that's all I mean. But, it's just all love out there, y'all. That's all I'm going to say because I told you, if you want to go for 3 hours, we'll go 3 hours now. Like there's a whole lot to say. Once we start talking, Purple, you like to talk, I like to talk. 3 hours.
No, we got to respect people's time. We got to respect people's time. Got to give them something. But Sanchez, thank you just for always being an amazing supporter. Just being an amazing gamer. Just being amazing. Just being in the community. Thank you so much, Sanchez. Thank you for sticking around. Sanchez, we need a game. What game do you hit me up? We need a game, Sanchez. And
last but not least, if we missed anybody else, don't forget about the lurkers. The lurkers were there.
The lurkers are there.
The
I know some of them. Thank y'all for there. We see this viewer count go up. So thank y'all for that as well.
I heard you say Ambi's name. I heard you say
Ambi.
Did you say Ambi early? No, I thought you said it earlier, but I know she put a like on the tweet, right?
Ambi. It's a he.
He. My bad. He.
Ambi's a guy. No, Ambi.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, my bad.
Ambi. No, boy, if y'all play with me in Outriders, Ambi is always there. So no, but Ambi's always just doing amazing stuff for me. Thank you all. Thank you, Ambi. Ambi knows what they gotta do.
My bad, Ambi.
Nah, you're good. You're good. But no, y'all. Well, that's me. I'll be gaming this Saturday or this Sunday. I'll tell y'all who my guest for Shades of Purple is next week. Hope y'all like it. It's gonna be a change of pace, but I am super excited to interview them. So please stop by. In Project Storm, where are you gonna be next?
Well, I'll be making some videos myself because I've been slacking a little bit, even though I have been producing some vids out there. But y'all, I got to turn it up. I used to make 4 or 5 videos a day. It's summertime. I might have to crank that up. So stay tuned. I got some things coming across a lot of different platforms or whatever. So that's it.
All right. Well, there you go, Lo-Fi. We gave everybody a shout out. We got you a little bit more time, streaming.
Yeah.
We're gonna do your best. But with that said, it's Project Storm. I'm PurpleHaze. And the proof is in the plan. All right, later, y'all.
Peace, y'all. It was